You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, November 11th, 2019, and it is rainy and it is cold, and they're predicting snow to come on in a little later this evening, although we've actually seen a few flakes drift by the window here, but they're saying it should really get heavy about 4 o'clock, 1 hour basically from now. And so we're keeping an eye out the window to see what's coming on down. But they're expecting between an inch, 2 inches of ground cover. So winter is definitely here. All right, let's see. We've got a lot to talk about today. Actually, it's been kind of a slow news day. The phone lines are open. 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations here. Okay, getting on over to the war zones. The Sudanese have become involved in the Saudis' war against the Houthis. And apparently the Saudis are delighted to have the Sudanese to throw out front there to do the fighting. And as a result, there have been a lot of losses for what is supposed to be a civil war. But apparently the Saudi and Emirati forces are perfectly willing to throw the Sudanese out there and kind of stand to cover themselves. Alrighty, apparently 17 rockets landed near an Iraqi airbase housing U.S. forces. So something's going on. Fighting still continues. Nobody wants to quit. Fighting. Now, this, of course, is Veterans Day. It's a holiday. And it's a day when we should rightly remember and honor those who've worn the uniform and served in our armed forces. And I got a lot of emails from people saying, well, they're the ones going on out there and doing the looting and the plundering and all these other bad things. Well, they're following their orders. And if you really think about it, our veterans are as much victims in all these wars as the rest of us, because they are being lied to by our civilian leadership. So we should not take things out on them. And certainly around this part of the country, all kinds of deals for veterans, discounted food, all kinds of good stuff, which I think is great. I really think it's great. Article out of, taskandpurpose.com. Most veterans believe the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan aren't worth fighting. And they really aren't. Already lynched Saddam Hussein. The only reason they want to stay in Afghanistan is they don't want to make it look like they get kicked out. It's a lousy reason to risk some young person's life and limb for your own vanity. Yes, we're still in the war because we're still in it, because we are in it. So, anyway. All right, Turkish-led forces have resumed their advance in northeastern Syria, according to reports. And again, the Northeast has been the main point of instability in the war-torn country. They didn't really make a lot of progress. They're out there still fighting. All righty. Now, Bashar al-Assad gave an interview to Russia Today, basically said that Western sanctions on Syria only hurt the people to push the regime change agenda. Well, we knew that all along. That's what the United States wants. They want new leadership in Syria that will do what they're told to do. That's what's behind all of these regime change operations, putting in a puppet government that does what the United States wants them to do, no matter how much it harms the indigenous people here. So Assad gave this interview, gave it in English, and basically came on out and said, yeah, this is what's going on in our country here. Speaking of US-backed coups, President Evo Morales has stepped down from the presidency of Bolivia. He was encouraged to do so by his own military, who said they got to get the violence under control. So he has now resigned, and it's sending shockwaves through Bolivia and Latin America as a whole. Now, they see him as having done a great deal of good work, building democracy in Bolivia and creating more fair economy. Won the most recent election, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this violent coup d'etat erupted. Everybody suspects this is another U.S. regime change operation. Certainly I do. Certainly smells like one here. Now, interestingly enough, over in Ukraine, specifically Donetsk and Lugansk, the Ukrainian army and the Moscow-backed separatists launched the first phase of a troop pullback. They're getting ready to have a high-stakes summit with Russia that is going to be moderated by the leaders of France and Germany. So this will be the first face-to-face meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky. They can come to some kind of an understanding and stop the killing there. We're going to do a shout out now to our honor affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. And getting on back here. Once again, the United States is threatening sanctions on a country because they want to buy the Russian S-400 missile rather than the Patriot. This time it's Serbia. And apparently Washington, D.C. is putting pressure on Syria to shelve their plans to acquire Russia's advanced S-400 air defense missile systems. It's really what it's all about, forcing these other countries to buy our weapon systems over the Russian weapon systems, even though, as near as anybody can tell, the Russian systems are far superior. That doesn't really matter. You know, buy our Patriots or we'll sanction you. Over in Iran, a little bit of good news. They have discovered a massive new oil field with something like 53 billion barrels worth of crude. And this is going to boost Iran's oil reserves by 1/3 and give them a lot more flexibility to evade U.S. sanctions. Over in Hong Kong, the rioting is still continuing. Protester was shot by police during the morning clashes. The Hang Seng took an immediate hit on that. Apparently, one young man who refused to join the anti-Beijing protest was literally set on fire. So it's getting tense over there. And again, Beijing thinks this is another U.S. destabilization operation. But the United States is effectively trying to make war on China by any means it can. It wants to end that One Belt, One Road project. Basically, restore trade to something that favors the United States of America. So, now, remember the white helmets? A lot of people were wondering if it was a fake group. Well, the founder of the white helmets, James Lemercier, was found dead in Istanbul, and the authorities are not sure if it was a suicide or he was murdered, although they made a point of saying he's been on antidepressants for a very, very long time. But Lemercier was a former MI6 officer. He created the controversial Urban Search and Rescue Organization, which has been accused of staging false flag gas attacks to blame on the Assad government. Alrighty. The United States is very actively asking North Korea to return to the talks. This according to reports from South Korea. And The U.S. can ask, I don't think it's going to work out because of the way the United States approaches these negotiations. Give us what we want first, then maybe we'll do something nice for you. And that does not sit well with the Asian mindset. Kim Jong-un has already made several goodwill gestures. He shut down that missile testing stand. He shut down the nuclear test facility. He returned the remains of U.S. soldiers who've been left in Korea from the Korean War. And now he's sitting there reasonably waiting for the United States to show their goodwill, and it's not happening. Over in Boston, somebody has mounted a guerrilla poster campaign opposing U.S. aid to Israel. They've gone into these little kiosks in the subway stations and posted these ads opposing U.S. military aid to Israel. In fact, the headline on the poster says, "Hey, Boston, thanks for the guns." Now, there's been a big fight between the ACLU and the city of Boston over whether those posters can stay up. As of right now, Boston is taking them down. As a matter of fact, so have other subways across the country. You can't criticize Israel. We can't let you criticize Israel. I saw an interesting little sign on one of the BDS demonstrations. It says, "We are boycotting Israel. We are not boycotting the Jews." I think is an important point to have made here. You have probably heard that out in California, they're talking about splitting the state in two. And the new state, the new California, is already forming its own government. And they have nominated Rick Perry as interim governor of the new California state. Rick Perry is currently the Secretary of Energy. He announced his plans to resign later this year, but apparently he's been nominated by the new California state movement to be the interim governor of the proposed new state. So this could get very, very interesting indeed. Up in New Hampshire, there's a man has filed for president under the name Epstein Didn't Kill Himself. So you think that one for a little bit. New York Representative Peter King becomes the 20th House Republican to announce his retirement. Feels like they know that next year is going to be a disaster, and they're already making plans to get out while the getting is good. But we have a lot of these GOP members of Congress are stepping down. They're getting ready basically to leave. And we are hearing more and more that this last week's elections had glitches, irregularities, and it struck even here in Indiana, along with Pennsylvania, and shows once again the risks of computerized voting. And apparently, they have uncovered massive fraud in the Kentucky election. There's something like 100,000 votes that were cast for the governorship, which are fraudulent. And now a whistleblower has come forward to say, yes, the election was a fraud. Now, Trump came into office saying he was going to fix this mess, and he hasn't. He hasn't. Okay, apparently the Republicans are demanding that Hunter Biden testify in the upcoming open hearings about what's been going on in Ukraine. And a lot of people are saying this could cause some serious problems for Biden. Well, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Pardon me. Nikki Haley is out with a new book. And in it, she makes the accusation that former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly attempted to recruit her to sabotage President Trump. ABC News has now fired that anchor who revealed that they knew the truth of the Epstein story for 3 years and did nothing with it. Okay, over on YouTube, they're now banning doctors who question transgenderism. YouTube has also announced that they will delete your account if it's not commercially viable. In other words, YouTube is saying, if we're not making money off of your web channel, we can delete your account. Well, YouTube would not allow advertising on our account, so I guess it's going to go away. I'm going to have to move all those videos over to BitChute or something. Police are now calling on Google Maps to disable speed trap alerts. There's a lot of apps out there where if you see a speed trap, you type in its location and it alerts other users of the app. There's a speed trap up ahead, mind your speed. And this takes what should be an issue of public safety and turns it into another game, another racket. It's like in a lot of states, those anti-radar units are illegal. Cops can nail you for speeding. Okay, we're going to take a phone call now. Kevin in West Virginia. Aloha, Kevin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mr. Mike. I got a couple of things on my mind today. I was wondering if you had seen the tweets from the lawyer from Eric, and I can't pronounce his name, Scaramouche, the guy that's supposedly the whistleblower.
Yeah.
The lawyer was You seen this guy's tweets where he's pictures with in Disney World with girls behind him, and then the one tweet that says if you have child porn problems, I can get you your national security clearance. Like, who says this out in the open like that? Like, wow, this insane. This is insane. And I think Hunter Biden should. I mean, this whole and I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it on your show, but I've said it before on many other shows, that this impeachment / cover up is a two-pronged thing. It's Trump blowing the whistle when the corruption of not only the Democrats but in the Republican side of Ukraine too. But this whole thing, it's just a cover up to cover their butt. I mean, the impeachment thing, I kind of feel 50-50. I mean, even though Trump's did nothing wrong, I do think it's going to go to the House, and I think they got a pretty good shot to twist some arms of 20 Republican senators to remove him. I mean, they're either going to kill him, they're either going to take him out in handcuffs, or they're going to take him out in a straitjacket. I mean, they're going to cook up multiple things, and the Kavanaugh thing was a dry run. And you were talking on the Kentucky voter fraud. Millie Weaver had a 2-hour thing with, I think her name was Tori Says, as her Twitter handle. I don't know if you've seen the whole video. All I can say is, wow. I mean, you're talking one guy that owns all the machines and owns on the government and the computers there. So even if they do a recount, it's going to go back to the same guy that was rigging it. And I can't remember her name. And I think she had fractional magic. Was it Beth Harris or Beth? She was talking about the Diebold voter machines. Fractional magic, was that? I think she would be a good one to get on and talk about how they're doing this with these electronic machines. I mean, it goes to show you that this same company was employed back in 2001. So this same company could have been, with the Bush and Gore thing. Our vote may have not mattered. Well, since 9/11, obviously it hasn't mattered, quite some time. But here's the proof we all been looking for. I don't know if Trump can fix it or not, but I think all of us
he's
need
not
to be
even
standing
trying.
up.
Okay, Kevin, stay on the line. I'm going to put you on hold. Going to bring you back after these words from our sponsors.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no work, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse every day.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And if you would like to help out Republic Broadcasting, and we need it, postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. If you'd like to make a donation by credit or debit card, that number is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during business hours, extension 3 at all other times. So we're talking with Kevin in West Virginia. We're talking about politics. We're talking about election fraud. I think what was really significant about 2016, we know there was massive election fraud taking place. But we also know that the American people, by voting in overwhelming numbers, were able to overcome that election fraud. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many deep staters are angry with Donald Trump. They thought they had a lock on elections from now on, and they don't.
Agree with that totally. I mean, and I think this Kentucky thing was just a dry run for 2020 to see what they need to do. You know, I mean, we caught them though, or they got caught, or somebody blew the whistle on them and said, no, not going to do this. I mean, I'm glad somebody came forward. You know, I you're right whenever you say, you know what, I don't think he cares. I don't want to believe that, but you got to be right. I mean, you know, I like, you know, Donald Trump, but as far as a leader, I agree with you that he's a very weak leader.
Yes.
Better than what the other choices are or are going to be, except for Chelsea. If Chelsea ends up getting the nomination, I will vote for her over Donald Trump. I don't care I don't like her stance on the Second Amendment, but there's other things that she is saying that I do like. You know, but this is sad that this is how we've come to. This is sad that we're on the fringes of, and now we see that our voice. I mean, like you said, you know, we overwhelmingly came out and stopped and overflooded their seawall of fraud. But you know, how complacent are the Trump people that voted for Trump? You know, you have me saying, you know, I don't want to vote for him if Chelsea runs. Are we going to have the same turnout as what we did? Or you know, has anybody projected those numbers, or what are the projection of those numbers? Because I feel like people aren't going to come out because it's like, oh, it's in the bag now, you know, just like with
Yes.
this impeachment thing. No, be careful. They have a chance to remove this guy, and they're going to remove him one way or another. Then my question goes to, then what? You know, say Trump does get reelected in 2020. What happens in 2024 when a Democrat's in there and reverses everything? They're already saying they're going to come for us. They're already saying they're going to put us in camps. How serious are these people? Are they that deranged? Are they that crazy? I think they are.
Well, I know that the guy who just won in Virginia is already out there saying that he's got a mandate to confiscate all the assault rifles. So, yeah, it almost doesn't matter what they say during the campaign trail. They're lying, same as they do when they get into office.
Sure. I mean, you know, a politician is just a nice way to say liar, I think now.
Yes.
For the most part. But that's all I have for you, Mr. Mike. You sound like you're under the weather a little bit. I hope you get better. And
A little bit.
Miss Claire the best.
A little bit. I'm just not used to the Indiana weather yet. All right, thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Steve Elkins. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm hoping to get rid of the politician and see a return of the statesman myself.
Yes.
Not sure that's ever going to happen, but where the statesman cared about his community and it was an honor to serve your community, and then you bowed out and let somebody else take over the honors. But what we have now is just career self-serving politicians. But what I called on was what Kevin was talking about. He's a smart guy. He calls in quite a bit in my show too. And that I'm going to disagree with him that even the rhinos will not cross over to have Donald Trump removed. And it's going to be based primarily on economic reasons. They keep claiming that the markets are great. The numbers we're being fed are all bogus numbers. You and I know they're bogus numbers. But there are a lot of people out there who believe these numbers. And, of course, they're going to stay in the stock market based on the lies that the economy is very strong. Unemployment is very low. The GDP is rising. And everything looks great, looks sweet, honky-dory. But it's not. It really isn't. I just reported yesterday, I think 51 Sears are going to be closing, 41 or 45 more Kmart's. It's possible even JCPenney is going to be probably closing their doors someday here soon because these are established brick and mortar companies and they are on their way out. They can't quite survive. And you can't blame it on Amazon. I mean, we're talking about retail that has big ticket items here. So yes. You can't blame that somebody on Amazon is going to deliver you a refrigerator and stuff like that. But I think what I'm saying is I disagree with Kevin in that these rhinos are not going to upset the stock market and let it crash. And at least on their clock, they won't because they'll be held accountable for it in the next election. They're going to say, well, you know what? We would have been all right, but you guys changed the order here. You got rid of this president, and the markets just tumbled. They took a big dive. And everybody's poor. We lost all our money, 40% or more of our money here. You know, you're responsible for that. And I'm going to hold you accountable. And that's not going to happen. They're not going to disrupt the money.
All right. Well, Steve, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website, by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective, and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon, my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant them anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're going to go back to the phones to Errol in the Netherlands. Aloha, Errol. Welcome back to the show. What's on your mind today?
Thank you for taking my call first. And I want to talk about, I saw something on RT, Russia Today.
Yeah.
It was a woman, and she was, because Hawaii is also known as a military base, and she was stationary there, and she was a medic, and she was on RT, what I saw today, and she was talking about how she was like, say, the age of, well, 65 or say 65, almost 70.
Okay.
And she explained that it's been a disaster also for post-traumatic stress syndrome and everything, and that the military, and she even talked about Vietnam. So I was like, wow, man, it's like, and she said, what we are now experiencing, and we get our soldiers back, from when they are young, they are programmed to get in the military without a thought to fight for what. And she said, when they come back, they get on exactly what you said, prescription.
Yes.
I don't think that you said it, but what I can recollect, because it was very fast. I try to remember everything that I see. So she said they came back, and what we're seeing now is that we need to give care of all these military personnel that come back. And she was from Hawaii. It is so sad for me to not know her name, because I'm going to research it and I'm going to find it out what her name was, because RT Russia Today. Oh, hear our rain. There's now rain in the Netherlands on my window. She said the problem is now we are getting those soldiers back, and they cannot create a family. They are aggressive. They are using the drugs that get them happy and everything. Because when you are young and you don't know when you are doing something, and you see very graphic things in your life,
yes,
it will come back to you. It will haunt you. It will haunt you. So she said that, and I will figure out what her name was. But I want to say to every veteran that is listening now, please don't stop immediately with SSRIs if you are using them. Get to a doctor. Go slow down and never stop in once. Because when you stop in once, you get, they call it in, I think, Mexican, loco. You go crazy.
Yes.
And when you go crazy, there can happen everything with your body. And you know that exactly as I do, Mike. So I want to say to every veteran that is listening now, don't stop with SSRIs or everything that you are using now in one moment. Don't do it. Go to see a doctor and do it slowly, because when you are doing it too quick, you are going to freak out, and then you're going to see things that you don't want to see. So this was my message, and I want to say I'm going to find out what woman it was, and she was in the military. She was a nurse. She said she was a nurse in the military in Hawaii. She was an RT, and I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to send you the link who it was with the name, because I'm now searching the video clip, and RT sent Russia Today yesterday. They showed the clip from that woman, and I was looking at her, and I was like, yeah, she knows what she's talking about. And I know when people are talking about things that they know. So thank you for taking my call, Mike. And again, don't stop with your medicine or whatever, what you have gotten in one time. Go to your doctor.
You got to taper down. You have to taper down.
Yes. You got to take it up. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go and switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, everybody cares about the veterans, including the U.S. government. That's why there's so many homeless on the streets. Nobody even thought that people just walk by them. You know, so it's just a way for people to feel good. You know, but in the real world, most people, they don't even think twice about if that person's got issues or financial problems. They don't care. But thanks for your, you can walk up, shake, thanks for your service, but do you really know this person's problems from these BS wars that these scumbags in Washington, has got? And nobody asks those questions because they don't care in reality, Mike. Most Americans don't even think about that, So that's why I think about that.
They should be.
Yeah, they should. Like, I mean, well, you wonder why we got an out-of-control government and people just look the other way. It's the same with the German people in Nazi Germany, right?
Yep.
Kept their heads down and what, see no evil, speak no evil, and see no evil, right? That's it?
Yeah.
You wonder why we got so many problems.
The good German phenomenon. If I just go along with what the government says, they'll leave me alone and nothing bad will happen to me, which of course is not what happened. They wound up losing their entire country.
Isn't that what you call patriotism, to go along with the party line? That's why I still get aggravated when people call and think I'm a lifelong gun. I don't like neither of these groups of people. They're all scumbags to me, But Mike, moving on, that James Lemercier,
yes,
either the founder or the co-founder of the White Helmets, what a turkey, because he committed, like, let me see, he fell off his balcony. His balcony was on the ground floor, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Like that's, so he was taken out. Isn't it fitting in Istanbul? Was that most likely the operations center where it was located in that vicinity for the White Helmets because they're linked to Al-Nusra Front, which is a spin-off of Al-Qaeda. So this dude was definitely taken out because if you think about it, he didn't have a problem being in Istanbul or Turkey for all this time, right? I mean, he must have been there for a while. All of a sudden, he just falls off of his balcony. I don't think so. So something has changed where maybe this is the end of this particular operation. Isn't it funny? Trump just gave them $4.5 million, by the way. All you Trump supporters. he gave another $4.5 million to the White Helmets. Why didn't we give this to the homeless veterans on the streets? I think they're not that hard to find if you look,
Good question.
Mike, like this tells you something about working in the shady world of the intelligence apparatus. Once your usefulness is over, they'll discard you like a bag of garbage. They'll just throw you away. Makes those people who are listening right now think twice. think very closely of who you're working for, because this guy was MI5 or MI6, right? I mean,
MI6.
And remember, the British,
MI6.
Yeah, and but Mike, British intelligence is the true founder, and the CIA,
yes,
and them are the true founder of the White Helmets, because it was also a propaganda tool. But it was, both countries, Britain and the United States. I don't know about France, put money into the kitty for them.
Yes.
And Mike, real quick, I wanted to get on, because I don't want to turn this into a Trump bashing by me again, but did you watch the Sean Hannity? I kind of fast forward through a lot of it, of Donald Trump, and he still claims, I'm going to skip over the economy because Steve Elkins said it right. That's why the banks are getting pumped liquidity by the Fed. We know that. It's not a good economy, but he took 100% credit for destroying ISIS. We know that is untrue because the Russians, the Iranians, and the Hezbollah and the Syrian army defeated them because they were at the gate of Damascus until the Russians got in and they pushed them all the way back.
Yep.
And that's the truth. And how do we even know we destroyed ISIS, what we claim we did? We could have just been knocking out empty buildings, because it's all propaganda war. So you could be knocking out empty buildings and throw a couple like raggy shirts where the hole is. I mean, it's amazing how, if people believe this crap, because remember, Trump came in, ISIS was already near, like in the outskirts of Damascus, right?
Yes.
So I mean, and then when the Russians come in, they pushed them out in less than a year. So that's just an untrue statement by Donald Trump, because I mean, he is bravado-ish, if you know what I mean. Like, he wants to take credit for everything. And but I just think that's not a good state, because we could still be friends with Russia and Syria and all this, but yet it was I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I don't know why he would say that. He says it all the time, though. Like, we defeated. Like, is he trying to make it just positive for the United States? We did something. We destroyed, or is it just him?
I think it's just him. I think he's letting his ego get the better of him. And you're absolutely correct. What he's claiming is factually wrong.
And we were there 5 years fighting this shady ISIS group, and Russia comes in a year or less. Come on, I mean, that tells you something. We weren't fighting them. We were moving them on the chessboard, battlefield board.
Yes.
Moving them to different areas to fight, and we use them. And Mike, I don't know, is there a real number of how many ISIS fighters? They had to be, I saw the interview with Assad. He says over 100,000 Syrian soldiers died. They must have been fighting 500,000 of ISIS fighters, either coming from Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, coming out of Canada, coming out of Britain and France, and coming out of Belgium, right? And other countries in the West. But that's a lot of foreign fighters to flood into one area, but 100,000 Syrian soldiers died. That's a lot. I mean, imagine 100,000 U.S. troops died fighting Al-Qaeda, supposedly in Afghanistan. That's a big number, man. I want everybody to go watch that interview. He's kind of hard to understand because obviously English is not as he's not English, but that's a good interview. I want everybody to go watch. And then there's another RT show. It's called Shadow World. Did you see that one? About how the British and was that company BAE? They sold all these weapons to when what was her name? Margaret Thatcher. They sold all these weapons and the Queen from BAE Systems to the Saudis. Britain and France unite. They're all linked to these to the Saudis and the Israelis. But it's called Shadow World, I believe, if you want to check out the trailer on RT. All right, Mike, have a good night.
All right, thanks an awful lot. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And getting on back to the news here. Interesting little article that came out of Professor Confess.blogspot, basically talking about Common Core and how students who have had 4 years of Common Core through high school are the worst prepared for college. And the problem is it ignores science. It's just another excuse for more indoctrination of the schools. And by changing the approach to how mathematics is learned, will further separate the children from their parents, since the latter won't have a clue how to help the kids with the homework. They're absolutely right. Just part of the brainwashing here. Okay, we're going to go back to the phones here. Mark in North Carolina, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
The brainwashing here. Hey, Mike, what's on my mind right now, well, among other things, is what happened with Mr. Morales there in Bolivia.
Yes.
So obvious of a CIA overthrow. I just don't understand these guys in these countries. They should take, the minute they take office, they should take measures to clean the CIA, the NGOs, the Soros people out. So these things can be prevented. Now I know he ran a democracy. He was another socialist who actually did something for the people, just as Ortega in Nicaragua, just as Venezuela, just as in what's that other place called? The place where everybody's lined up on the borders now, Honduras. Just like in Honduras, this goes on and on. They don't like people who do. They want our corporations to own their companies or run their companies, at least, whether it's oil or in the old days, food companies. Matter of fact, what's his name? Dudley Butler. He talked about it back in it before World War II.
Yep.
Okay. He realized what he was. He was just a hired gun for the corporations, the big banks, the Wall Street. This is what keeps on going and going. And, it's hard for me to, sympathize with Trump, what he's going through, when I know he's behind, or he lets this stuff happen. I'll bet you Elliot Abrams is running this show. The guy who ought to be in prison a long time ago, who was actually pardoned at the end of the Bush administration. This is the guy. This scumbag. I'll bet you was behind it, Michael. I mean, or at least played a big part in it. You know, he was also involved in. Obviously, he almost went to jail for a lot of time. He was actually convicted. He was big advisor, and as far as to the, he was also a part of PNEC, you know, Project New America Century. This guy is, you know, this guy is a dirtbag. He's a criminal, and yet he's working some of the highest offices of our government today. It just goes on and on. It's terrible.
It really does.
This guy did a lot of good for Bolivia. Would you rather have a guy like Stroessner, you know, the old Nazi that used to be in there, I'm not sure, about 30 years ago or so? Is that who we want to run the country?
Okay, Mark. Mark, we got to do a commercial break. I'm going to have to let you go. Got another caller waiting on the line, and we'll be right back.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste-great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones to Paul in New Jersey. Aloha, Paul. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Michael, you know, we got to give Trump a little credit here in a sense because, all right, I was mad a few weeks ago when I heard that he was going to hand off the 11,000 ISIS fighters being held by the Kurds to the Turks, which is basically happening. But at least Trump wasn't an evil enough Machiavellian to basically stage those ISIS fighters along the Iranian border, and then have them start making incursions into Iran and kicking off guerrilla warfare within Iran.
That
so
we
for
know
that
of.
we got to, So for that we got to give them a little, like a little credit for being somewhat honest and not continuing the, the last nation on the Zionist hit list. The one Wesley Clark talks about. When he goes through all the lists that we basically done on their wish list, except for Iran. And I think what really threw the cog in the works is the development of missiles and among the Iranians and the Russians, and the basically that the latest technology basically been disseminated to Iran. And so I think the United States Air Force has got a whiff of the anti-aircraft ability of the Iranians. And I think that stymied everything. I think that's why the Israelis really haven't done many, incursions into Syria with jet planes, and basically just hang around the border and fire missiles into Syria. And are you aware there was an article over at Truth Seeker a few days ago about how the Israelis have a new missile, and basically they fired 2 of them into Syria. One of them didn't go off.
Yes.
And it basically got transferred to the Russians, and then the Syrians got it on time. I guess they hit it well enough. And, you would think they'd put a transponder on these missiles so they can at least track it to destroy it in case it doesn't work.
Well, see, the problem with the transponder is it also allows your enemy to shoot the missile down.
Yeah, but you think the transponder could go on in case of, I'm giving away military potential idea here, but you think the transponder would go on when the missile didn't work accordingly, so it would be a backup, like
it's
beacon.
Theoretically possible, but it's going to add a lot of weight to the missile.
I don't think much. I think it would just be a little bit, just one IC chip, you know what I mean, and hooked into the antenna system. So I don't think that would be a big deal with a relay. But either way, it's just lovely to see against, this transfer of technology. And this has happened over and over again with the United States meddling. Why does Iran have those wonderful drones? Well, they stole it from us. How did they steal it from us? Well, we thought we'd be smarty pants and fly the drone over Iranian airspace, and they basically spoofed it and took it and made it their own and copied it. And this is what happens when you engage in warfare. So either way, there have been some good things on this front, but Trump should have seen those ISIS fighters executed over there when he had the chance. On that.
All right. Well, Paul, we got to take a break for station identification. Thank you for the phone call. We'll be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And that other caller was right. I'm feeling very much under the weather. And I think when we get to the bottom of this hour, we're going to switch back over to a best of so I can get some rest here. So if you want to call into the show, this next half hour is when you need to do it. Now, over in Virginia, Governor Ralph Northam is very happy with the recent elections, and he's already announced he's working on assault weapon confiscation. And he sees the election results as a mandate from the public. Oh, I don't know about that. It wasn't even really an issue during the campaign here. And you have to ask yourself, why are they so obsessive over assault rifles? The AR-15, the AK-47, they're not used for crimes. They're used for these staged, spectacular mass shootings. But if you talk about the street crime that you're seeing in places like Baltimore and Chicago and everything, those are small, concealable handguns. Nobody even talks about those anymore. We've got to get the AR-15s. We've got to get the AK-47s. Those are the weapons that would give the American people the ability to stand up to an intrusive government, which is the whole point of the Second Amendment. All right, apparently somebody has now done a huge mural of Greta Thunberg over in San Francisco. So she's now looking down on all of the carbon polluters, and the liberals are just happy as all get out. But the real inconvenient truth here is that polar bears are thriving, in spite of what we're told is human-caused global warming. And scientists who are saying, look, the polar bears aren't in trouble, they get fired. We've hit this age right now where if you dare say something the liberals don't like, it can cost you your job. Whether it's the transgender agenda, whether it's human-caused global warming. That's not a free country. That is not a free country. Okay, John Cass is out there saying that the whistleblower, this Eric Ciaramella, and Representative Adam Schiff should be the first to testify in the Trump impeachment theater. And he's absolutely right. Now, Schiff, of course, is trying to severely limit the scope of GOP questioning. He wants the Democrats to be able to ask whatever they want to ask, and the Republicans get maybe one question, and it has to be one that we already have on this pre-approved list here. All righty, over in, again, San Francisco. Soaring homelessness forces San Francisco to issue record housing debt. Where are the jobs so these homeless people can stop being homeless? And more handouts aren't going to solve the problem. Apparently, a top U.S. general, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, is now saying between 500 and 600 American troops will now stay in Syria. So much for the promise to start bringing the troops home here. And apparently Google is running this project to secretly vacuum up health records of millions of Americans across 21 states. This is reported by the Wall Street Journal. Whatever happened to the HIPAA laws that were supposed to protect your medical privacy? Don't they apply to Google? Over in Iceland, they're issuing a warning about Askja caldera. It's in the remote highlands of Iceland, and there's been a swarm of earthquakes there. And this is a very, very powerful volcano. When it erupted in 1675, the ash could be seen all the way to Scandinavia. They're concerned it may blow again here. Okay. Now, Nevada becomes the first state to ban employers from testing workers for marijuana, weed. I think that would be acceptable. I mean, you obviously don't want them smoking on the job. Testing if they've had weed at home over the weekend. It's inappropriate here. Apparently, 60 Minutes down in Australia did a segment on exposing Jeff Epstein's international sex trafficking ring. And speaking of Australia, they're now going through their problem with wildfires around Sydney. Apparently the brushes all died dry, and they're just having a really rough time. We're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network here. Okay, over in Wisconsin, they're in the middle of an economically driven farming crisis. They're losing 2 dairy farms every single day. And that is intolerable because we're coming up on a period where there are going to be some serious food shortages in this country. Alrighty. Apparently the snow is so bad, some 900 flights have been canceled across the country. And there was a video where apparently this plane was landing at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. The runway was too slick. The plane basically slid off the runway. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got shook up, but nobody got hurt. Okay. Let's see. We already talked about that. And let's see. More concern being raised over false claims being made about flu vaccines. I mean, they've already basically admitted this year's flu vaccine is ineffective. They guessed wrong, because that's how the flu vaccines get made, is they take a guess. What will be the dominant strain next year? Let's make a vaccine for it. And if they guess wrong, they make the vaccine for the wrong virus, and it's completely ineffective. But they're still going to insist you get your shot. The African swine fever is continuing to reach around the world. And they're saying we could see bacon prices just go right through the roof. Now, only about 2 weeks ago, we were hearing there was actually a bacon surplus, and they were concerned about being able to get it all sold out before it went bad. Nobody seems to really want to pay attention to this stuff. Alrighty. Talked about Common Core, about Sudan, about the rockets in Iraq. How long is all this? How long is all of this going to keep on going? The U.S. is just committing war all across the globe. And we're all raised to think that we're the good guys. that we are a moral and exceptional nation, and we just didn't have any choice but to engage in these wars. But if you look at how much the United States has been at war throughout its history, it's hard to find a year where we're not out there somewhere killing somebody. Alrighty. Apparently, geologists or volcanologists have come up with a new model for the Earth showing that the mantle and crust are in this tectonic battle. And they're not exactly sure what's going to happen. The Earth is definitely rocking and rolling right now. Maria Zakharova has come out on Facebook talking about Emmanuel Macron's statement about NATO being brain dead. Zakharova is saying it's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Okay. Article that came on out of Touchstone Connect. Separation of church and state, good, bad, or indifferent. Obviously, I'm a Jeffersonian at heart. And he wrote in his early letters, the goal was to build a wall of separation between church and state. The U.S. government had absolutely no business setting up any religions, whether it was Catholicism or Protestantism or Episcopalian or whatever. It's a matter of personal choice here. Now, here's an interesting article. This is from Russia Today, and it's talking about how 3 decades after the fall of the Berlin Wall, one of the symbols of the Cold War, Europe remains divided because it chose confrontation over a common future. And yeah, even though the Berlin Wall is down, we're seeing more and more hostility building up, mostly being provoked from the U.S. side. The U.S. wants regime change right now in Iran, China, and Russia, so that these countries will do what the U.S. government wants them to do. And they're willing to risk a war to do that. Okay. Democrat Senator Murray is out there saying we must stop this parade of ideologically rigid nominees to our federal judiciary. I think that's a slam at Kavanaugh. In other words, the liberals want only liberals to be in positions of power and authority. Well, that's not freedom. That's not democracy. It's not even a republic. It's just another form of dictatorship. Right. This was a very timely article today, and it came out of the original antiwar.com. The armistice that we need, it's time for the vets to reclaim Veterans Day. We had that one caller out there saying, it's all for show. We'll go on out there and say, thank you for your service, and make it look like the government cares about these people who served in uniform, but they don't. We have so many veterans who are homeless on the streets. We have so many veterans who are not being given adequate medical care at the VA. Once you're no longer of any use to the war machine, that's it, you're gone. Another article, this one from doesn't seem to have a link on it. And the armies that remained suffered veterans, moral injury, and suicide. And that is a big problem. Hardly anybody's talking about is the high rate of suicide among not just our veterans, but serving soldiers. And that should tell you the hell that we're putting these kids through. Apparently somebody went on out and did a survey. Students can't name a single just war that the U.S. has fought in all of its history. Wars of conquest, or wars of vengeance, if you will. Over at Fox News, they've had a little bit of a whoopsie there, because apparently Fox News contributor Molly Hemingway caused a scene when she purposely named the alleged whistleblower at the center of the impeachment inquiry against President Trump, breaking the network's policy of not identifying the person. And let's see, here we go. You know, I look at Washington, D.C., I look at the Congress. It does come across as romper room, daycare, kindergarten. Another article, why has the U.S. given $142.3 billion to a country of just 8.5 million people? Why does the U.S. continue to pledge $38 billion per year for Israel's defense? Because Israel isn't defending itself from anybody. They, like the United States, are the aggressors. New Zealand is looking at banning criminals just being near a gun, even if they don't own it. Trying to tighten firearms restrictions in the wake of the Christchurch massacre. This doesn't even really make any sense. Okay. Talked about Assad. Actor Robert De Niro's out there saying Trump wouldn't last long in a real gangster world. How would you know, Robert? Hang out with a lot of real gangsters? Or are you just going from the fact that you play a gangster in the movies? Okay, Dershowitz is now comparing Democrats to the Russian secret police under Stalin. You're just getting more and more out there. They really are. Here's an article. This came out of Government Slaves. The liabilities for the entitlements are a worse threat to the next generation of Americans than climate change. Well, we know that climate change isn't that much of a threat. But yeah, the country is being bankrupted with all this money for the illegal immigrants and the migrants. We're being sucked dry. Pay for all these free things. Okay. Apparently, this New York woman, 26 years old, is arrested for harassing the family of a 2-year-old girl with a genetic disorder by sending threatening messages on Facebook and GoFundMe and mailing letters to their house. Okay, why would you do that? Where's your humanity? Why do you do things like that? It seems like Americans are developing a mean streak. For millions of Americans in the middle of the country, it feels like an economic depression has already started. And I'm hearing that around here as well. All right. Here's a little bit of good news, okay? Probably saw the movie on Hidden Figures. And it was about these women, mostly African American, who worked as human computers in the space race for NASA. And she went on to have a rather splendid career with NASA. And now she's going to get the recognition of a Congressional Gold Medal. About time. That's all I can say. And yeah, there was a lot of sexism and racism in the early space program. It was part of the local culture. And fortunately, NASA management said, you know, we got to show a better way. So if you haven't seen Hidden Figures, it's worth the watch. It's definitely worth the watch. Little side story. I don't think this is in the movie. Oh, got to take a break for commercials.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And a reminder, this is going to be the last segment I do live today. We're going to a best of afterwards, so I can try and shake whatever it is that's hit me. Getting on back, though, to Hidden Figures, there's a little story where NASA was just starting to bring electronic computers, IBM machines, in to calculate orbits, and John Glenn wasn't sure he trusted them. And so he asked this lady to do the calculations for his orbit, and she did by hand. And they came out matching what the computer, the IBM machine, had said. And John Glenn breathed a sigh of relief and hopped into his capsule and took off until that RetroPack issue came on up. Okay, we got a caller on the line, Don in Arizona. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Mike, I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but a lot of people are saying that Jeffrey Epstein is not dead. They put it on the bottom of the beer cans, one brewing company, and even Facebook has had. I look at Facebook once in a while. There's been a lot of people that'll just slip that in there, like they'll make one of these little posters that says "Roses are red, violets are blue," and Jeffrey Epstein is not dead or something like that. But they'll slip it in there with a lot of other totally unrelated information. There was one on that football game that Trump went to, University of Alabama, and the lady sportscaster was interviewing some of these college students and asking them how do you like it that Trump's here? And this one college girl was saying, "Oh, it's so wonderful. I think it's great." You know, like a typical what you would expect. And they went to this guy and he said, "Well, I think it's really great because Jeffrey Epstein is not dead." You know, he didn't crack a smile or anything. It was pretty cool. And then, I mean, this is really on TV. And then
I don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead. I think, you know,
I don't think he's dead either. Right. I agree with you. He's not dead, but I just thought it was cool the way this college kid did that. And you know, people, how can anybody argue with me? Nobody's going to sue that kid because it's true. He's probably not dead, you know. But this kid said in the broadcaster smoothly went back to this other girl who just kept on talking about how great it was that Trump was there and stuff. But I don't think he's dead because if they're going to go to all the trouble of faking a suicide and killing him, then it would be just as easy to get him out of there, you know. And what proof do we have that corpse was his? We have no proof. We have the word of his brother.
We don't even have a proof that it was a corpse.
Well, there's been autopsies. There's an autopsy.
There's an autopsy on somebody.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a corpse. It had to be a human body, I would assume. But not. I don't think it was. It could have been a lookalike. I mean, they didn't actually check his DNA to make sure it was him, and now the body is buried supposedly in some place where nobody knows because they're afraid that people will dig it up. So anyway, for sure, it was not a suicide. We know that much.
Yes.
But nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's like a non-issue. Nobody. The government doesn't care about that. They're too busy trying to do other stuff, you know. So, but yeah, I just, you know, these youngsters like that. This kid is only like a college kid, but he was. They know that Epstein probably was not dead, or at least he wasn't killed. So, I mean, what can they do? They have to live their life. They have to try to get a job. Most of those kids, they have to try to. If they're gonna, I mean, what can they do? They have to try their best to get a job instead of. And everything is anti-truth, the whole society, pretty much.
Yes.
So anyway, I'll let you go. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. Okay, apparently there's a new Yale study that estimates there are now 22.1 million illegal aliens in the United States today. That's more people than the population of Florida. That's how out of control the illegal immigration problem has become, more than the population of Florida. And they're being encouraged to register to vote, which is illegal. They're voting in elections. Apparently, that's a big part of what happened last week. They caught some of these illegal immigrants voting, and they weren't supposed to vote. There's at least one case where a non-citizen was caught voting. And apparently it made the news because it was a woman, a non-citizen spouse of somebody who's rather prominent in the process. All right, we're coming up here on the end of this segment. And again, I apologize for not having the wherewithal to complete the show. But I really am not feeling well at all. So I hope you enjoy whatever Michael has picked up as a best of. So here's the music. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.